The paper slapped against the front door like it had been waiting for the exact second the house went quiet. A bright orange notice, bold letters, a barcode, and a fine amount that felt less like money and more like a message. Darnell Rivers stood on his porch, holding it with 2 fingers, as if it might stain him. Across the street, the HOA president, Marjorie Klein, watched from her driveway with a clipboard tucked to her chest, her posture straight, her mouth pressed into a thin line that looked practiced. "You received it," she said, not loud, not kind, just certain. Darnell didn't flinch. He read the notice again, even though he already understood what was saying. "Unapproved exterior modification," he read calmly. "Immediate compliance required." Marjorie's eyes flicked toward the side of his yard where new wooden posts marked the corners of something in progress. "Your construction," she said. "It's not permitted." Darnell's voice stayed even. "It's a boundary marker. The contractor hasn't even started." Marjorie's pen clicked. "Once. Twice. Like a countdown. Still visible," she replied. "Still a violation." Darnell looked at her for a moment. No anger. No pleading. Just a quiet kind of disbelief. Like he was watching a storm form on a clear day. What she didn't know was that the ground beneath that notice had already been measured down to the inch.
Before we continue, if stories like this remind you that respect should never depend on how someone looks, tap like, share this video, and subscribe to Black Justice so more people can hear these powerful lessons and stay with us to the end of this narration. It helps the channel grow and keeps these stories alive. Your support helps us keep telling stories that matter. Now back to the story.
Marjorie stepped closer, stopping exactly at the edge of his walkway as if she didn't want to be accused of crossing any line. "Your fine is effective immediately," she said. "And if you don't remove those posts by Friday, it doubles." Darnell didn't raise his voice. He didn't even change his expression. "Can you tell me," he asked gently, "what rule I broke specifically?" Marjorie's eyebrows lifted, as if the question itself was an inconvenience. "It's in the bylaws," she said. "You should read them." "I have," Darnell replied. "I also filed a form 2 weeks ago." Marjorie smiled, small, almost invisible. "And did you receive approval?" Darnell paused. "No," he said. "I didn't receive a response." Marjorie's smile stayed. "Then you have your answer." Each word made the room smaller, even though they were outside with open sky above them. Darnell glanced down the street. Neighbors were doing what neighbors do when trouble doesn't belong to them, pretending to water plants that didn't need watering, pretending to check mailboxes that were empty. Marjorie adjusted her clipboard. "We have standards here." Darnell nodded once. "I respect standards." Marjorie leaned forward slightly, her voice lowering as if she was offering something personal. "Some people move into communities like this and struggle to adjust." Darnell's eyes stayed steady. "Adjust to what?" Marjorie's lips tightened. "To expectations." The silence did more damage than the insult, because in that silence, the accusation had space to breathe. Darnell folded the notice carefully, not crumpling it, not tearing it. He treated it like evidence. "I'll handle it," he said. Marjorie turned as if the conversation was already decided. "Please do," she answered. "We can have things looking inconsistent." She walked away with the fine still hanging in the air, heavy and bright like that orange paper. Inside the house, Darnell's mother, Mrs. Lila Rivers, stood at the window watching. "She's at it again," she murmured. Darnell didn't respond right away. He placed a notice on the kitchen table, beside a folder with clean labels and clipped documents. His wife, Simone, entered holding a mug that had gone cold. "Another fine?" she asked quietly. Darnell nodded. "4 posts. On our side." Simone's jaw tightened, but her voice stayed soft. "It's not about posts." Darnell looked at his folder. "It never is," he said. On Thursday morning, an email arrived from the HOA office. Subject line, "Final notice, non-compliance." Marjorie had copied 3 board members, attached a photo of Darnell's yard, and typed one sentence that felt like a verdict. "Failure to comply will result in immediate lien evaluation." Darnell read it once. Then again. Then he stood up, not hurried, not shaking, and walked into a hallway closet. He pulled out a tube, long, cardboard, sealed a surveyor's roll. Simone watched it with her arms folded, eyes searching his face. "You already called someone," she said. Darnell's answer was simple. 2 weeks ago. Simone exhaled slowly. "Are they coming?" Darnell checked his phone. "They're on their way," he said. Friday afternoon arrived with a strange calm, the kind that comes before something unavoidable. Marjorie Klein marched down the street, with 2 board members behind her, Mr. Henley and Mrs. Park, both wearing polite expressions that didn't reach their eyes. Marjorie held another notice. She stopped at Darnell's driveway like she owned the air above it. "Last chance," she said. "Remove them." Darnell stood on his porch again, hands relaxed at his sides. "Before we do anything," he replied, "I'd like you to meet someone." Marjorie's eyes narrowed. "Meet someone?" As if on cue, a white utility truck turned onto the street and rolled slowly toward the house. The words on the door were clear: Peters and Dawson Land Surveying. The truck parked. A man stepped out, mid-40s, sun-worn face, reflective vest, clipboard, and a calm professionalism that didn't bend. Behind him, a second worker lifted equipment from the truck bed. Marjorie blinked. Just once, like her eyes were trying to correct what they were seeing. "Can I help you?" she asked sharply. The surveyor approached, polite and steady. "Good afternoon. I'm Mr. Dawson. I have an appointment with Mr. Rivers." Darnell nodded. "That's me." Mr. Dawson looked at Marjorie, then back to Darnell. "We're here to mark the legal property line and confirm the boundary points." Marjorie shifted her weight. "That's unnecessary." Mr. Dawson's tone stayed neutral. "It's requested by the homeowner. We're licensed. We follow county records." Marjorie's voice tightened. "Those posts violate HOA policy." Darnell spoke softly. "They're temporary markers placed where county records show our line is." Marjorie lifted her chin. "You don't get to decide that." Darnell held up the folder. "That's why I didn't decide. I asked a professional." Mr. Dawson opened his clipboard. "We can proceed now if you'd like." Marjorie glanced at her board members, searching for backup MR. Henley stared at the ground. Mrs. Park avoided everyone's eyes. Because something was changing. Not loudly, quietly, like truth walking into a room. The surveyor set up equipment at the curb. Numbers were recorded. Measurements were taken. Lines were checked. Darnell didn't talk much during it. He just watched, calm, patient, like someone who had nothing to hide. Marjorie's confidence began to thin, word by word, step by step. Mr. Dawson finally stood upright and looked at Darnell. "Well," he said, "this confirms it." Marjorie's head snapped up. "Confirms what?" Mr. Dawson pointed. "Precise, factual. These markers," he said, "are inside Mr. Rivers' property line by several feet. The neighborhood didn't make a sound, but it felt like the whole street leaned closer." Marjorie's face tightened. "That can't be right." Mr. Dawson's voice remained calm. "It's right. It's recorded. I can show you the documents." Marjorie's hands gripped her clipboard, so hard her knuckles paled. Darnell looked at her, not with triumph, not with revenge, just with quiet clarity. "You sent me a threat of a lien," he said, "over something I'm legally allowed to do." Marjorie opened her mouth, then closed it. The silence did more damage than the insult. Mr. Dawson added, professionally, "Also, based on these measurements, there's an HOA-maintained hedge encroaching onto Mr. Rivers' property." Marjorie froze. Darnell's eyes lowered briefly, like he was absorbing the weight of what that meant. "Encroaching," Mr. Dawson repeated, "by almost 2 feet." Mrs. Park finally spoke, barely above a whisper. "Marjorie." Marjorie's voice came out strained. "That hedge has been there for years." Mr. Dawson nodded. "That's possible. But land doesn't change because time passes." Darnell took a slow breath. Then he spoke the line like a truth set gently on a table. He didn't raise his voice. He raised the truth. Marjorie's eyes darted toward the small crowd now gathered, neighbors who weren't pretending anymore. Phones stayed in pockets, but attention was fully awake. Darnell held up the HOA email printout from his folder. I filed the approval request, he said. No response. You find me anyway. He slid the paper into the open air between them like it belonged there. I'm asking one thing, Darnell continued. Accountability. Mr. Henley cleared his throat. Marjorie, did we respond to his request? Marjorie's eyes flicked, defensive. The board was busy. Simone stepped onto the porch beside Darnell, her voice calm but firm, busy enough to send fines. Marjorie looked at Simone, then back at Darnell, and for the first time her voice lost its sharp edge. Well, if the survey says... The survey says, Darnell interrupted gently, that your fine has no basis. Mr. Dawson handed Darnell a printed summary sheet. This is preliminary. Full report will be emailed. Darnell nodded. Thank you. Marjorie swallowed. Mr. Henley spoke again, more direct now. We need to rescind the fine. Mrs. Park nodded. And the email about a lien. That was too much. Marjorie looked cornered, not by anger, but by procedure, by facts, by the quiet witness of the street. She lowered her clipboard. I'll void it, she said. Darnell didn't smile. He didn't celebrate. Thank you, he replied. And I like confirmation in writing. Marjorie's eyes narrowed, then softened slightly, as if she realized something about control. You'll have it, she said. And the hedge. Simone asked careful. Mr. Dawson answered neutral. That will need correction if the homeowner requests it. Darnell looked at the hedge, then at his mother watching from a window. He spoke slowly. I'm not asking for revenge. I'm asking for respect. Marjorie stared at him for a long second. Then quietly she said, I understand. But Darnell knew the difference between understanding and admitting. And still, he accepted the moment for what it was. Because justice isn't always loud. Sometimes it arrives wearing a reflective vest and holding a clipboard. Moral lessons don't always come with thunder. Sometimes they come with measured inches and unarguable lines. People will test your dignity when they think you have nothing to protect yourself with. But dignity doesn't need permission. And truth doesn't need volume. When power is used carelessly, it wounds. When accountability arrives, it heals, calmly, factually, and without cruelty. Respect costs nothing, but means everything.
If this story touched your heart and reminded you that respect should never depend on appearances, race, or color, take a moment to subscribe. Your support helps us share more Black justice stories that inspire change, spark awareness, and remind the world what dignity truly looks like. Share and leave a comment. Your voice helps bring these stories to life and keeps the message alive. Your voice matters here,